G'day and welcome to Leadership of Awesome. Today we're going to be talking about people over process. Now, process can be a very important thing, and you need it in certain circumstances and in certain industries. Things like building infrastructure, in mining, generating electricity, building a house. In these kind of areas, process is really important. And you can base this process upon certain things like the laws of physics. Things like that don't change very often. So process can be really important just to make sure that your walls keep up the roof of your house. In the early days of software development, we did use project management processes that were based on the construction industry, but we learnt over time that those processes don't really end up with great outcomes. You could have a software development team tucked away for 6 months to a year building something. They come out of it with something that doesn't quite match what was desired at the beginning, or the world has changed in the last 12 months. Now we're talking about agile processes where engineers can imagine something and have it working in minutes. In that kind of environment, we need some new processes and new ways of running teams, new ways of working together that's going to bring some great outcomes. So what is this new way? Well, the way is not really new. If you look at the Agile Manifesto that was created in 2000, so we're talking about 22 years ago as of this year, one of the first positions on the Agile Manifesto is to prioritize people over process. Now, the human mind is one of the most amazing things in our natural world today. We don't fully understand it yet, but we're striving to learn more about it. But we can see the outcomes of what amazing humans have created around us. The tech industry in particular operates upon the creativity, on the inventiveness, the innovation, the brain power of the people that work within it. Really, prioritizing people has been an amazing outcome to see, prioritizing on the people that are working within the organization, but also prioritizing customers and prioritizing people that are outside the organization. Who are we building software for? What kind of work do they do? What kind of problems do they have? What kind of solutions can we come up with? All of this is based around creativity and innovation. But I think the focus on people really has a ways to go. It's a continual battle. I think over the past 10, 20 years, it's been something that's been forming, that we've been experimenting with, something we've been getting better at every day, but there's still a long way to go. Humans have an inclination to seek comfort, to avoid fear, to avoid conflict. And our brains are not only amazing at creativity, but we're also really great at pattern matching. And that means that we can create processes really easy when we see a pattern occurring and we can optimize for it. It's a little bit of a danger zone when you're trying to balance process and people together and making sure that people have the right amount of autonomy, the right amount of scope, the right amount of freedom, the right amount of creativity and environment, culture created for that. Now, it is true that humans working together are going to need some kind of structure to work well effectively together. That's just the nature of coordinating communication or coordinating things across large groups of people. We recognize that there is a need for some level of process. Over the past few decades, we've seen companies come and make amazing innovations in industries, bringing total transformation to how customers interact with products and services in that industry. A lot of businesses are realizing that they either have to innovate or they're going to be out-innovated by a competitor. So what does that mean for us, the current and future tech leaders in our industry? I think there's some important opportunities here for people. If you can really understand how to unlock the potential of people for yourself and those around you, there's a lot of great opportunity here to make an impact and to see amazing outcomes become reality. If you look at many of the roles within the tech industry today, there are already a lot of dynamics at play where you're not really relying on a process to be able to have outcomes or to get your work done. If you think about a software engineer, the actual decisions to make around how they're going to design something, how they're going to code something, that's usually left ultimately up to the individual. If you look at a people leader, they ultimately need to decide what kind of culture they're going to create for their team. If you look at an agile coach, they're really looking at what tools do I need to bring to a team to help them to be a high-performing team. In those three examples, you can see people in roles within the tech industry that are already working with a lot of autonomy. They're already working and focusing on people. They're already working and thinking about how their outcomes are going to align the best for people. Now, we do have industry practices. We have guidance from, say, people more senior than us. We do have things around us that do give us indication or guidance on, how we should make decisions or what a good decision might look like. But ultimately, you as an individual within your space, within your role in the industry, you're deciding ultimately how the work is done. Now, every company is going to be different, but ultimately in your role, even though you have a lot of opportunity to make decisions about the outcomes and how things are going to work, you still have process around you, because we need a certain amount of process to have the company work successfully, for groups of people working together successfully. I think with some of these potential processes though, each individual person needs to decide when it's right to follow the process, when it's right to make their own decision, and when it's right to bend the rules a little bit or break the process that's currently there. So let's talk about a couple of examples. If you think about a software engineer, they may be tasked with a job where they need to get the work done and create an outcome within a certain very strict time period. They might be asked to just ship the outcome and ship the software without any regard to quality. Now, I think there's still some room there for a software engineer to break process and to end up with ultimately a better outcome in the end. The software engineer is going to be more in touch with what the trade-offs are, particularly down at the code level, right? If they ignore quality, they're going to understand the impact of that for themselves into the future. So what you could do, say if you take an 8-hour task, right? You're coding a new feature and you take 10 minutes out of your time, out of your day, or out of that 8 hours to write some tests, to refactor some code, to think about and spend some time thinking about how the structure of your code is going to work and how you can make it better. Most likely, no one is going to miss 10% of that time spent. Over an 8-hour task, we're talking about 48 minutes. I think really for the amount of autonomy and expectations we have on an engineer in a team, for them to get a task done in 8 hours versus 8 hours and 48 minutes, in most cases, it's not going to be a huge impact. But that small decision can snowball into quite a large impact for the team and for the individual engineer and for the customer who's ultimately going to use the product in market. And now let's take a second example. You might have a software development team who are very high performing, who've come together to work on a very high profile project. Now you could have that team working well together, collaborating well together, having great outcomes, shipping software. But in a very high profile project, sometimes you could have a situation where delivery pressure is going to add certain types of pressure to the team that don't make great outcomes. So for example, people in the team could get stressed. People in the team could be starting to change their behavior based on the stress that they're feeling in their day-to-day work. They kind of lose their edge for problem solving to make good decisions. They can also find that collaboration breaks down. All sorts of conflict and things like that can happen within the team. Now, these are not ideal. These are things that kind of work against a great outcome at the end of the day. Now, in that situation, the team might come together, have an informal kind of conversation about it, and decide, hey, something must be done. Maybe one of us should go and talk to senior management about this and kind of get them on board or give the feedback or to at least try to enable some change to happen. Now, in that situation, there's a very difficult situation there. It's not normal that everyone in that group is going to put their hand up to say, yeah, I'll have the difficult conversation. I'll go in and create conflict. I'll go in and face my fears, create this conflict situation with managers to talk about this difficult situation. It's rare that everyone's going to put their hand up. But for the one person that does, that's one decision that they're going to make a difference, to make an impact to everyone in the team, and ultimately contribute to a higher level or expectation or outcome of success for that team and for the product and for the business. There's a lot of good things that can come from it through a difficult conversation. That one person that puts their hand up is about to take the next step of leadership in their career, in their growth, in their personal growth, to really make that impact and not only help themselves in learning this new skill and having this experience, but also helping all of their team members as well. Now, your journey is going to look unique to you. So there's going to be situations, there's going to be opportunities, there's going to be an environment, different types of teams, different types of managers that lead you, different types of people that report to you. It's going to be all sorts of different interactions that you're going to have throughout the day, throughout your career. And these small opportunities are ways for you to make an impact, for you to prioritize people over process, to be able to look at people and ultimately people are chaotic, but as a person, you can dedicate yourself to understand people, to understand how to help them, understand how to influence them, understand how to lead them, and lead them to a great outcome, to help them to navigate through difficult situations. You can be the example. There's lots of things that you can do to make an impact. So I would encourage you all to prioritize people over process. It can sometimes be a very difficult situation to be in, but I can say from my experience that a lot of these difficult situations end up with really great outcomes.